Today I have my most requested video ever, which is my top 10 favorite anime movies of all time, but like with all of my lists, I'm spicing things up a bit, adding a few stipulations to make it a bit of a challenge for myself and also differentiate the list with a lot of the other lists that you might find online, with a few stipulations. 1. This list will not contain any Studio Ghibli movie. I'm doing this just to be fair to a lot of the other anime movies out there, because honestly, this list would be about half Studio Ghibli, so later on down the road I'm going to make a list just for Ghibli movies, and I'm going to rank them that way, but this list will not contain any Ghibli movies. 2, I'm not going to include any movie-linked OVAs, any OVAs that are about 2 or 3 episodes long. I'm excluding those because I have another list that will include my favorite OVAs of all time. So starting this list off with number 10, we have Redline, and I know some people are going to be surprised that this is so low on the list at number 10, but with me, honestly, I find this movie to really serve 2 purposes. 1, to just be this artistic masterpiece, a really beautiful movie for the eyes, and 2, just this adrenaline-pumping action film, and I really enjoyed for that. Personally, as far as the story or the character goes, I think that it's lacking in those aspects, but if you're looking for something that is just an enjoyable ride, then Redline is definitely for you. Number 9 is a movie that honestly surprised me that it made it so low on this list. That's Vampire Hunter D. If you would have asked me a year or 2 years ago what my favorite anime movies were, Vampire Hunter D would have probably came in at 3rd or 4th place, but after rewatching it lately and reviewing it, analyzing it, I noticed some of the flaws in there, and I really do feel like it's mostly a nostalgia pick for me, but it's definitely something that I feel any anime fan must check out, especially if you're into the classics. This came out around the mid-80s, and I really liked how dark and gritty the art style is. The animation itself is very choppy, and it doesn't have the best animation out there, but it's definitely something that anyone should check out if you're into classic animes or any sort of monster flick. Moving on to number 8, we have another horror movie, but this isn't a monster flick, it's actually a psychological horror. Perfect Blue is a beautiful movie showcasing some of Satoshi Kon's best cinematography, as you have a character here, this pop idol, ex-pop idol, who gets into acting, and her actions really are conflicting with her, and it's causing nightmares with her, plus she's being stalked by one of the creepiest characters that I can think of in anime, and it's really interesting watching her having to sort out what is her nightmares and what's reality, having to sort through that, because eventually the line does get blurred with that. It's a really great movie to watch. Next at number 7, we have a bit of a cheat because it's 3 movies together. That's the Berserk Golden Age trilogy. Now, with these movies, I can't really pick just one. If I had to, I'll probably say 3 is my favorite of them, followed by number 2, and then lastly followed by number 1. But these movies are basically a retelling of the events that happened in the anime series, but being closer to what actually happened in the manga, because there were a few scenes that were left out of the anime, and also a few characters as well. However, the anime is still good. I still recommend you to watch the anime as well, but these movies are pretty good. My only complaint is I don't really like the animation style here. On paper, it sounds really good, and if you're looking at little bits of it, it does look really nice, but occasionally there are some frame rate issues with that. Next at number 6, we have Garden of Words. This movie showcases the most beautiful and realistic animation that I can think of with an anime. Sure, you have Redline, which they put more work into that, and is beautiful in its own rights, but Garden of Words downright looks realistic, and there are times when you'll have to turn your head or pause it and just take a double take with something and try and find out if a backdrop was actually a real picture or a real video of something or actually animation. Of course, the characters still look like anime characters, but it's definitely a beautiful movie, something that is a must-watch for anybody who's a big fan of slice of life or romance series. Next at number 5, we have End of Evangelion. This is the only movie on the list that requires you to watch an anime series before watching it. Everything else on the list is standalone, but if you're going into this movie and you've never seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, A, you're going to spoil yourself, and B, you're not going to understand anything that happens, so watch the anime series and then watch this movie. It's a really beautiful movie. It's got great artwork to it. It's got great animation to it as well. Plus, it's such a mind-blowing experience watching this and seeing the final conclusion to the Neon Genesis Evangelion series. And of course, I know some people are going to ask about the rebuilds, why they're not here. I have them on Blu Ray actually, but I've been holding off. I haven't haven't watched them yet just because I'm waiting for my pre-order of movie 3 to come in that I've been waiting for a while now, and then I can just marathon them and have a special video just about those. I'm trying to hold off for a really great experience with that, but I have already seen the first 2 movies. I just haven't seen part 3 yet. Moving on to number 4, we have Wolf Children, which is a very beautiful movie, both as far as the artwork and animation, but also with the story and characters itself. It's a very solid, well-rounded movie that anybody would definitely enjoy. Go ahead and check out Wolf Children. It's about a mother who's raising her 2 wolf kids, and I don't want to say too much about the story because it's very fast-paced, and it wouldn't take much for me to spoil it for you, so just go and watch it. Next at number 3, we have Akira. Don't need to say much about this. I know you've already heard about it. Hopefully you've already seen it. Such a beautiful movie, and it came out in the late 80s, but it had such a high budget, and the animation quality of it is something that I feel still stands up with today's animation, even though it does look it does have that gritty, raw feel of something that you would find from the late 80s. It has this very fluid animation with a lot of detail to it. It's really a beautiful movie, and it's also kind of gory too, so I really enjoyed that. My only complaint about Akira is that it's not the complete story of the manga, but it's impossible to add that into the movie. If you're a fan of the movie, if you enjoyed it, then you definitely need to check out the manga. Don't go starting off in the middle of one of the volumes. Start off at page 1 and read it all from there. It's actually a lot different, and I know you're going to enjoy that. Next at number 2, we have Ghost in the Shell. This is a science fiction futuristic movie about people in a time where you can replace parts of your body for cybernetic enhancements, and there's this huge moral issue with this about how far people can upgrade their bodies before they stop being human and start being machine, basically. And you have these detectives that are working on this case. I don't want to get into too much about it. I know everyone out here has probably already heard of Ghost in the Shell because it's very popular, but go ahead and check out Ghost in the Shell if you haven't yet. Before I get into number 1, there are 3 movies that almost made this list, so I've got a few runners-up that I wanted to talk about. That was Cowboy Bebop, which is a movie that really stands up on its own. If you haven't seen the anime series, then that doesn't matter. You could still watch the movie, even though chronologically this does exist within the middle of the series. By itself, it stands alone as being a great movie by its own merits. You don't really get introduced to the characters the same way as you do within the series, but the plot itself is really something that stands on its own. I think it's a great movie, even if by itself. The next runner-up is Paprika. I recently reviewed this probably a week or 2 ago, so it should still be fresh in everybody's minds. I don't have to say too much about that, but Paprika is a movie that kind of in certain ways inspired Inception, and personally I felt that the characters and the overall story itself took a backseat to the visuals of how they represent dreams and also the art style. It's a really beautiful movie to watch. The last runner-up that I have is something that I haven't really talked about in a while. I reviewed it ages ago. That is Genro the Wolf Brigade. This is a movie that mixes, if I remember correctly, World War II themed with like the steampunk theme, and it's this big war, but it's also psychological as well. It's definitely a mature movie, and I recommend it for any fan of mature anime. So finally, we're at number 1, and I know you've already predicted it just because it's not on the list yet. That is Ninja Scroll. This movie is easily my favorite anime movie of all time just because it's my go-to for anything or anytime that I want to get excited and watch some awesome fights in such a short amount of time. It's a really beautiful movie with great animation to it, especially with the Blu Ray upscale, the remaster that we have to it, which is, in my opinion, the only way that you can watch this movie. If you still have it on DVD, or please don't tell me you still have this on VHS, go out there and buy the Blu Ray of it. And if you don't have it yet, then do yourself a favor, go watch it. It's a really enjoyable movie. It's got a lot of blood, a lot of action. It's set within ancient Japan with ninjas and stuff. It's really great. So anyways, that's my top 10 anime movie list of all time. Let me know in the comment section below what are your top 10 favorite anime movies, and just in case you missed a few videos, check out my top 10 favorite anime series, and of course my anime review playlist just in case you missed any of those. So anyways, thank you for all your support with your likes and comments. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.